what is going on, everybody. So as you guys know, the new iPhone just came out, all three of them, the iPhone XR, XS, and XS Max. And I was already thinking, I was like, man, these phones are super expensive, and I'm not the only one too. And it was just kind of strange that the iPhone XR was released at the $750 mark, which was still pretty expensive. And I already made a video about how it was a waste of money. I was on Reddit, and this person posted how Apple has silently raised the price of their smartphones, and it was a very valid response in a post, and I really liked it a lot. This person went on, I would recommend reading this. I'll leave it down in the description below so you guys can check it out and give this person credit. But this person went on to type and write about how they've been pretty much just slowly rising the prices in order for us to kind of get accustomed to a certain amount of a phone that we should be accustomed to paying, like $1,000, $2,000, whatever, for a phone. I'm going to show you guys something. I kind of broke this down a little bit further. This person put in a bird's eye view, which was perfect, and it got the conversation started, but I kind of want to take it a step further. And so what I did was I actually compiled a data set of every single iPhone and every single release price, and then I also made the I also adjusted it for inflation. And then what I did was I just brought into Tableau so we can kind of get a better idea of it. So this is the release price of every single iPhone. And it might not just seem like a bunch of lines to you, but just keep in mind that the first iPhone started at $499 from as far as I know. I believe you had to get a 2-year contract with it, but then with these iPhones, they just took that out so you can buy it outright. Before I even get too deep in this, I want to say the main question and overlying thing I want you to keep in the back of your head is innovation. You know, are they innovating as much now as they used to? And what I mean by that is, are they pushing the boundaries? Are they creating more crazier stuff in a way that we haven't really seen in a while or anything like that? And I don't have the answer to that, but what I just want you to keep that in the back of your head while you look at all these numbers and everything and whatever I have to say. And as you can see, there was a price increase in the beginning, you know, and then once we had the iPhone 4S, there was another increase by about $50. And then the prices pretty much stayed consistent except the Plus models, which were actually different phones. So those are somewhat of an outlier, but not really. But as you can see, the prices kind of, you know, increased slightly over the years. But then once these new iPhones came out, and even including the iPhone 10, the iPhone SE is down here. Don't really look at that yet. But as you can see, the price in 2008 and 2017, we saw a humongous price increase. And that really just shows us where the trend of smartphones are going. I mean, look at this. You can see that obviously these iPhones were crazy expensive too, and a lot of people, like I said, are going to say, oh well, $500 back in the day was so much more, it was like worth $1,000 now. But I want to show you the inflation for the prices adjusted for inflation. And as you can see, and I used a .gov website, I honestly don't even remember which one it is, but I'll leave it in the description if you want to use it. It's just an inflation calculator, and you put in the date and the price and where you want to export it to. And as you can see, the first iPhone was about $604, $605, and then the second iPhone was $690. And even then, that's a little bit expensive. But I mean, even then, I mean, it's still nowhere near $1,000. As you can see, the prices kind of do go up and down here and there. But I mean, still, even for inflation, it still isn't nowhere near $1,000 or anything. Even the first iPhone wasn't near that, even in today's standards. So I wanted to get that out of the way to let you guys know that that is not the case. The first iPhone that ever came out is nowhere near $1,000. It's still only like $100 more than what it was back in the day. So looking back over here, and this is an amazing point that the Redditor posted, and I want to direct your attention to right here. This is the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus, okay? Now, when the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus were released, no one really thought of you if you bought the iPhone 6. Obviously, the iPhone 6 was cheaper than the 6 Plus, but if somebody bought the iPhone 6, you didn't think that that person had a lower end phone or the cheaper model. I didn't think, but I don't think most people thought like that. Most people thought, oh, they have the smaller version of the phone. And that's what everyone thought. They didn't think, oh, you have the cheaper model, you have the smaller version. And people said the same thing if you had a 6S or a 6S Plus. And that was kind of engraved in my head. And I'm sure 99% of other people, I mean, because these phones aren't cheap. $649 isn't a small amount of money, and neither is $749. So when people bought these phones, they were like, oh, you just got the smaller version of the phone. And people said the same thing about the 6S and the 7 and 7 Plus. They thought if you had the iPhone 7, you don't have the cheaper model, you have the smaller model, which is completely different. You can have a smaller phone and not have it being a cheap model in everyone's viewpoint, which I know you shouldn't care what other people think, but in this case, we're just gonna have to go with public perception. And now the interesting thing is, when the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus and iPhone 10 were released, even at this point, I would still say that the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus were not the cheaper or lower end model. And the reason being is that when the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus were released, the iPhone 10 didn't come out until a couple months later. So technically speaking, the iPhone 8 Plus was the main flagship for a couple months that Apple was selling. And so even at this point, if you bought an iPhone 8, you didn't buy the cheaper model, you just bought the regular version. If you bought an iPhone 8 Plus, you bought a little bit more of an expensive version. If you bought the iPhone 10, you bought the most expensive, the premium version of the phone. And the Redditor actually summed this up perfectly, and this is a quote from that Reddit post. I didn't make this up, this is a quote, you can read it. This person said, 2 years ago, that price would have gotten you the newest model of the iPhone, which was the iPhone 7, and she's alluding to the iPhone XR. A year ago, that price would have gotten you the newest phone, but not the premium model, which is the iPhone 8. And today, that price gets you the lower end feature absent model, the iPhone XR. So what this person is saying is that for $750 back in the day, even just like literally like 2 years ago, that would have gotten you an iPhone 7 Plus or an iPhone 6s Plus. Even adjusted for inflation, that's still nowhere near. We're still at like whatever, like not even $800 for the most part for most of these. And like I said, the iPhone 8 was the regular model. It wasn't a lower end or cheaper. It didn't have any features missing out. It was just a smaller phone. And people could say the same thing about the iPhone 8 Plus. It was just a smaller, technically smaller screen, whatever. But still, I mean, it wasn't a cheap phone at all. And so what's interesting is that the iPhone XR right here and the iPhone 8 Plus are only $50 different, okay? And that's what everybody's going to say. But like I said, the iPhone 8 Plus wasn't the cheaper model, it was the most expensive. So now what we have is a complete crazy situation. And so the iPhone XR is a really big deal right now. And the reason being is because of the price. This phone, whether $750 or even, I would say, even if it was $650, it would still not be a good deal at all because of the iPhone 10 used prices. That's a different story. The main viewpoint I want to show you is that $750 even a year ago or even 2 years ago could have gotten you the iPhone 7 Plus, or definitely 100% could have gotten you the iPhone 8. And if it was between an iPhone 8 or an iPhone XR, I mean, the iPhone 8 has a couple features that the iPhone XR doesn't have. And so what I wanted to do further was look at the innovation of these phones. Okay, a lot of people said, oh, the reason the iPhone X was so expensive was because they changed the body and it was OLED and this and that, and they had to jack up the prices to keep it, just all sorts of things, right? And I feel like they could have lowered the price for the iPhone XS, but the fact that a lot of people bought this, Apple knew that they could just keep the same price and jack it up even more for the XS Max and get even more money from the customers. And now what's super interesting is I want to show you something, okay? And what I want to do is I want to take these phones out of the equation. I want to take out the iPhone, the first iPhone up until the iPhone 5C. But I want to direct your attention right here, okay? You would say that the jump from an iPhone 5S to an iPhone 6 was pretty big, right? There was a pretty big shape discrepancy. They did not use the same body. Completely different phone from one end to the other. It was different glass sizes, different body, different screen, different cameras, almost different processors. All that stuff was changed, different batteries. It was a completely different phone. It's not like the iPhone 5 where they could have used the same body and shape in this. It was a completely 100% different phone. But somehow in 2014, Apple kept the same price. They kept the $649 price tag. Why was that? Why was Apple able to keep that same price tag even though the innovation at this point was miles ahead? Even though there were some problems with this body, they still kept the same price for the iPhone 6s and they kept it for the iPhone 7 as well. So why was that? Why was there such a huge innovation happening here, even from the iPhone 5s to the iPhone 7, but the price didn't go up? That is my question. And I want to break it a little bit further. Okay, so we kind of already made the fact and made the conclusion that Apple made a huge change in 2014 for the iPhone 6, but they were still able to keep the same body. So could you not also allude the fact to the iPhone 8 or even the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus to the iPhone 10? That was a pretty big jump, wasn't it? That was a pretty big body shape increase, all this crazy stuff. But did it really cost them that much to make an iPhone 10 that they had to increase the price up to $1,000? I don't know, okay? I don't have Apple's financial sheets to show what it takes them to build an iPhone 10, but I'm telling you guys right now, it was not single-handedly because of that price tag or because of the innovation that they were making. And speaking about price increases, okay, what I want to show you now is how long it took Apple to increase the price. And as you can see from us breaking it down here, it looks pretty even, right? It looks like a gradual increase basically from here to here. It's pretty normal. I mean, you have a little bit of sharp increase with the 7 Plus and a little bit more with the iPhone 8 Plus. But look what's happening now. These prices are going to go much higher than this. Apple's trying to make us being accustomed to the $1,000 smartphone. And now we have a $1,500 option for the iPhone XS Max. I will say, in a couple years, we're probably going to get into the $2,000 price tag for phones, probably within 3 to 4 years from now, if Apple follows the same type of logic that they've been doing. Now, here's what's interesting, okay? The iPhone 6 stayed the same price. We're going to look at the base models here. The iPhone 6 stayed the same price, $649. The iPhone 6s stayed the same price, $649. The iPhone 7 stayed the same price at $649. The iPhone 8, it took them 4 years to increase the price $50, okay? From the iPhone 6 to the iPhone 8. And it took him even longer than that. If you guys remember here, it was $649 since the iPhone 4S. But looking at the more, recent phones, $649, it took them 4 years to increase the price to $700 or increase it to $50. And now within 1 year, they increased the price from $700 to $750 for the base model. So it took him 4 years to increase it $50, and it took him 1 more year to increase it another $50. So just imagine what's going to happen next year, or the year after, or the year after that, or the year after that. And it's just an endless cycle, and I don't know what's going to happen after this. But Apple is slowly, silently, like the Redditor posted, increasing the prices on us, and and ultimately their goal is that they're trying to make us accustomed to feeling like that we should be comfortable paying $1,000 for the phone. And so you might ask yourself, wait, why is this the case? Why are they doing this? And the main reason that I kind of thought of is that most people aren't willing to upgrade their phones as much. We're in a world now that the phones are lasting longer, they're getting much better, and because of that, people aren't really updating their phones as much. So Apple as a company, they are missing out on tons of revenue, because back in the day, people used to upgrade like every year. But now phones are getting so good that it's like, what's the point? An iPhone 6s can still do everything an iPhone 10 or 10s can do, pretty much. So now they're in a situation where there's less people buying phones and less people upgrading. So what do they have to do? They have to increase the price in order to offset the cost of the people who wouldn't normally buy the phones or who would normally buy the phones. So technically, Apple could make the same amount of money, or if not more money, this way by pricing the iPhones higher and having less people buy them. And that is what they're doing. And what is the underlying feature here? What is the type of innovation that they're making here? The 750p screen, the no 3D touch, the single camera on the back. Even though it's only $50 less than an iPhone 8 Plus, it's still not, better than an iPhone 7 Plus, which sold for $769, or the iPhone 6s Plus. The iPhone XR is selling for the same price as the flagships used to from Apple. And remember, everybody used to make a big deal about these iPhones, that these were so crazily expensive, this and that. But this iPhone XR is the lower end model, and these were the flagship model. It's just completely ridiculous what Apple's doing. And as you can see, guys, I'm telling you guys right now, look at the gradual increase from here to here. This was such a gradual increase. It was like whatever, like the prices just went up like normally prices do. But then we have these situations, which is completely insane. There's absolutely no reason that these phones should be this expensive. You have manufacturers like OnePlus 6 and all these other things, all these other companies making phones that are nowhere near this, and they're built the same. They have the notch, they have the whatever OLED screens. It's because this is Apple. This is Apple. They want us to spend more money for literally the same type of product. And like I said, the innovation thing, is there really innovation going on? I don't know. They've pushed the screen all the way to the edges a little bit more. The XS Max is a little bit bigger. Of course, I'm still going to buy them just because I have to review them. But looking as a consumer and looking as a customer, because I'm going to spend my own money on these, I have to ask myself, in a situation like this, ultimately, is Apple looking out for their customers, or is Apple looking out for their company? And you might ask yourself, oh, well, obviously they're looking out for their customers. But why would they jack up the prices this much? Why would they do that? And so the main thing is, they're going to do this as long as they can. They're going to jack up the prices as long as they can. I don't think there's anything we can do to stop it unless we don't buy the iPhones, but of course people are going to buy them. And going back to the fact that Apple only cares about themselves and not their customers, why else would they remove their best-selling feature, their best-selling product on Best Buy away from the consumers? The Apple headphone dongle, that's actually one of the best-selling things that Apple sells in Best Buy or even in their store. I'm not even too sure at this point. Why would they remove that from the box? Were they thinking about the customer in that viewpoint? No, they weren't. They were thinking about them as a company, because they can make way more money that way. It's just crazy. Do people have less headphones like that? No, people still use headphone jacks. People still use headphones and stuff. Why would they remove the headphone dongle? It's just because they want to make more money. They want to just use every single which way to squeeze a little bit more money out of you and all that stuff, guys. I'm telling you. And I'm not the only one. A lot of other people think the same way. And I think that's what I hope we all kind of focus on now, are these prices. And like I said, the iPhone XR is a complete waste of money. I don't even know why anybody would even buy that. I would way rather have an used iPhone 10 than a XR, but that's the video I already did. But that's pretty much where I want to end it off at. I believe at this point, maybe in this era, Apple was focused more as a company focusing on their customer. But I would say around the iPhone 6 area, the 2014, that's when Apple kind of switched up and a little bit, you know, I would definitely say around the iPhone 8, definitely 100% the 7 and 7 Plus. That's when they realized they needed to do something in order to gain a little bit more revenue. And then they went and switched over and just did this on us, which is insane. And that's pretty much where I'm going to end it off. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Whether you think I'm right or wrong or whatever, I'd love to hear your opinion. It would mean so much. Definitely check out the links in the description as well. My second channel, my Instagram, my Twitter. All that stuff is down there. I would really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.